Take one. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Where the Music Lives On. My name is Pamela D, and I am here with a member of our Facebook group, I.F.A.T.S. This is Mr. Bryan Goff. Bryan, welcome.
Oh, thank you for having me. Thank you for asking me for the interview.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Thank you for taking the time to be with us. And I'm interested in learning as much as I can about you from a musical point of view, because you're one of the few members that I really don't know. However, I have admired your posts for quite some time.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So let's start here. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Bryan, where you're from and
Okay, well, I'm from Mount Vernon, New York. I've been here just about my whole life. Um, I actually work about 10 blocks from here. I work for the local county government, and I love music.
All right, great. You grew up, you said Mount Vernon, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, now that has some history itself, especially in the world of hip hop. Can you give the viewers, I should say, some idea about your influences from your parents? Was there music always in your house? How did you become so engrossed in music and your love for the art itself?
Okay, well, there was always music in the house. My parents were mostly with, I'd say R&B, and my dad with some blues. And then as I got older, I say my mid-teens, a good friend of mine and my father's got us started listening to jazz. And at that time, it was pop jazz. It was a new album at that time by Grover Washington, one with the
Huh?
song Just the Two of Us.
Sure.
My dad went and bought, uh, seemed like an armload of Grover Washington albums after that. But he kind of established a pattern that I had because I would go into, let's say, Tower Records and buy maybe a best of from Blue Note Records. And there would be a group of artists. And if I like a particular artist, I would buy their best of. And then if I liked that, I would go and buy the albums those songs out or came on. And I
Okay.
wound up with quite a collection. But like I said, it's I'd say more R&B than anything else, but quite a bit of jazz. And I've learned over time that some of the things that I used to almost ridicule or say I would stay away from, I have listened to. Like you probably noticed in my post, there's been some country and some rock. I
Uh-huh.
surprised
Okay.
myself with as much rock as I like because my mom used to keep the car radio glued to WCBS, which was
Oh
an
yeah.
oldie station,
Yes, I
which played
remember that
plenty,
distinctly. Yes,
uh-huh,
yes.
and they played plenty
Absolutely.
of classic rock. And I used to ridicule that
Go
stuff.
ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Uh, then one day I was out, I think it was a Black Friday, and I was out driving and I turned the radio to a station I had never listened to before. And it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and they were playing Elvis Presley. And I said, who plays Elvis Presley at 2 o'clock in the afternoon? And it was a countdown by Classic Rock Station. And
Okay.
I found out that I knew a lot of these songs from complaining about them when I was growing up hearing them on CBS.
Wow. Now you mentioned that your father uh was 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 into jazz. Now was Grover Washington his favorite?
I would say one of his favorites.
Oh, one of his favorites. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. So he was into that, but he also enjoyed R&B.
Oh, definitely a lot of R&B, and mom also R&B than jazz.
Oh, okay. Okay. Great. Now tell me about your journey to I.F.A.T.S. How did that come about?
Um, I'm honestly not sure. I think I must have seen something that was posted by someone. No, I was looking for music groups, and I think I saw that, and I looked up the group, and I liked a lot of what had saw posted, and I said, let me join this group. And I really liked the Sunday features, but I would post things that came up during the week also. I post probably a lot more on Sunday than I do during the week, but I really like the group.
Oh, okay. Oh, great. Great. Now, I like I said before, I don't know you as much as I know some of the other members, and your posts are always interesting to me because you always, not always, but you do supply us with information, which I think is really great about the artists. Do you have a
Mhm.
huge music collection?
Not as big as it used to be, but I'm into a lot of music. At this point, it's probably more playlists than actual music that I have here in my apartment. But like I said, I'm into a lot of music. And what happened is some years ago, I began researching things because I wanted to try to put together, like I see a lot of people, they have, or not a lot of people, but some people have playlist sites where they,
Yeah.
link you. And I was starting something like that, and I looked up a lot of things and came to know a lot of, or to learn a lot of things about people I didn't really know that much about.
Oh, okay. Okay. Who are your favorite artists, by the way? Or some of them? Some of them, who are they?
I like well, I like quite a bit of Miles Davis, Herbie Hancock, Stevie Wonder, Chaka Khan. I'd say Gladys Knight and the Pips. I came to really appreciate them more as I got older. Um, some blues artists, like I say, Little Milton. I surprised my dad the other day when I was telling him that I found this song I remember he played when I was younger. I just remembered the name of the song and the artist's name was The Guitar and the Horse by
Wow.
who was it? Guitar Junior.
Okay.
And I found the album and I remember hearing that album, but I especially remembered that song.
Wow. Wow, that's very interesting, I find. Now, coming from Mount Vernon, like I mentioned earlier, does have a music history. And really, to be honest, the only person I know from Mount Vernon, I think, is Heavy D.
Hmm.
Is that correct?
Yes, I
Yeah.
actually graduated high school with his older sister.
Oh, okay. Okay. So are there any R&B artists that have that come from Mount Vernon?
Let me see. I'll be sure I know came from Mount Vernon.
Okay.
I know there are others, but names are not really coming to mind right now.
Yeah, yeah. You're gonna
And there
remember
was a
when it's over.
guitarist that I had listened to that I didn't know he was from Mount Vernon until after he died. The guitarist named Melvin Sparks,
Okay.
a co-worker of mine who was into jazz and who was something of a promoter, told me, I think it was around the time that he died, that he was from Mount Vernon, and I had no idea. And I
Oh,
listened to his music.
okay. Going back to I.F.A.T.S, when did you actually join? Do you remember? Do you remember how long you've been there?
Uh, I'd say it's probably been a couple of years.
Oh,
I'd say
really?
2 years at the most. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Okay. Now you mentioned that you like the Super Sunday feature. What is the other things that you like about I.F.A.T.S?
Well, I like the fact that there's so many uh, people who are in the group post so many different types of music. I mean, it does seem to center around R&B, and I noticed there is a cutoff time, which I appreciate because I don't really know a lot of the newer stuff. But I know it's R&B, but it's not all R&B because I've seen country, I've seen jazz, I've seen rock, and I posted myself some country and some rock, and I may have thrown in some classical in there too.
You may have, I believe you have, Brian. I think I did see
Mhm.
that, But uh, with the music that you just mentioned, how do you find the music of today? If you can compare it with what many of us grew up on, how do you compare the music of today? Do you think that it's probably a two-part question? Do you think that R&B has lost its luster or does it no longer exist? How do you find even listening to the music of today compared to the music of maybe yeah, about 30 years ago, even
It,
other than that, during the 60s and 70s.
it doesn't really compare to me because a lot of it I just can't really get into. Um, I'd say, like I said, I don't really know a lot of current stuff. And a lot of
Okay.
the people who I do know have been making music for a while. But it just seems like, I guess it's just the musical tastes are changing because you see a lot of even memes online now where people are showing music of their generation and what it sounds like to the kids. And to the kids, it seems to always sound like country.
Yeah, yeah. That's
They'll
true.
be
That's
playing something that's
true.
usually hardcore hip hop, and to the kids, it sounds like country.
Yeah, 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 that's
And
true. Oh my
that kind
gosh.
of eliminates my original impressions when I was younger of some of the things that my parents listened to that I actually enjoy now.
Isn't that funny? Because I feel the same way. There were certain times when even though I was influenced a great deal by the music that was shared in my home, sometimes you kind of like scratch your head and go, "What is that?" You know? And now it's just so, it sounds so different. I guess it's like food. When you're a kid, you don't eat, your taste is different, until you get older, you
Hmm.
appreciate a certain type of food and, of course, musical taste.
Hmm. You don't want those vegetables when you were a kid, but now you can enjoy them.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
Excuse me. Now, how many, I shouldn't say how many, have you gone to concerts in the past? Concerts used to be a big thing too when we were growing up. I don't like the concerts of today, and not because of the music. I don't know, it's something, it's a lot of gimmick. It's too gimmicky for me.
Hmm. I haven't gone to a lot of concerts because I'm not a big crowd person, really, but I have gone to some here and there. I remember going with some friends of mine to, I believe it was Patti LaBelle's very first show on Broadway.
Oh,
And
wow.
it was interesting because we were in the second or third row, so we, for the most part, we felt the music rather than hearing it.
Yeah.
But it was a good show.
Wow.
And I remember
Unbelievable.
going to a show that was the Whispers, the
Okay.
Temptations, the Four Tops, and Whispers, Temptations, Four Tops, and I don't remember the other group now. And it was actually the week before that big blackout in New York, the one in I think it was 2003.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
Literally 6 days before that blackout, and it was a
Wow.
good show. It was a great
Oh, it was a
show.
good show?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think, you know what, I think groups like I.F.A.T.S and a few others have resurrected, I should say, music of the past, because a lot of times when I see someone of today perform on television, the audience doesn't, I think they tolerate it.
Hmm.
I think they just sit there and they tolerate it, and these guys are supposed to be these singers are supposed to be uh really, really known for something, I guess their voices or whatever, but it's just not the same for me. And I find those performances from the past, they didn't need anything. They just got up there and they perform. Now, once in a while, you get a group like Funkadelic, that had a lot of more of a like of a show, a Broadway show, if you will, with these little gimmicks and things like that. But they could
Hmm.
really bring out the funk, though.
Hmm. I've noticed that too because had a lot of their performances in their videos, and I was surprised to find some of the musicality. Like one of the things I found with Funkadelic, it was very interesting. When they were recording their very first album, they were scheduled at the same time that their producer's wife, who was a white woman from the UK, was scheduled to record. And so he brought them together. So they actually, she and George Clinton and some of the members of Funkadelic wrote songs together. And she's
Wow.
actually credited as producing some of the songs on his album. And he on George on Funkadelic's album, and George Clinton co-wrote and co-produced things on her album. And it's interesting because some of the songs on hers, they sound almost country, but they sound at home with together.
Really?
Mhm.
Oh my
Her
God.
name was Ruth Copeland.
Ruth
She was
Copeland.
married to this Ruth Copeland, and she was married to Jeffrey Bowen, who produced Funkadelic's first two
Uh-huh.
albums. As a matter of fact, when she her third album, some of the members of Funkadelic had left the group, but they performed on her album and actually toured with her.
Oh my goodness. Now that is very interesting
It
information.
is.
I don't know anybody that knows anything like that. Thank you very much for supplying that. And that's what I
uh,
mean. This when I look at some of your posts and I think to myself, well, this interesting information. And that's how I got to, really know you only through that. And I like that.
okay.
I like when information is supplied to the listener. That's
Mhm.
important. Have you forged any relationships on I.F.A.T.S? And what I mean by that, I'm just nothing personal, but just, sort of social musical relationships with other members.
I have. I have. Like I remember one time when I was posting something, someone, I think it was a day where it was songs that you don't like. And someone said something in a comment about nobody better post anything by Keith Sweat. Uh, so the next song that I posted was Nobody by Keith Sweat. And I said, somebody better call, I think it was Dominique. I don't remember the person's last name. I
Uh-huh.
said, somebody better call 911 for Dominique. And I posted that song.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. You know what? I think I remember that. I think I remember that. Wow.
Mhm,
Wow. Yeah, Dominic, he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
mhm.
Are there
And
others?
I remember with some of the songs too, where I guess it depends on the day and the artist. Because there's some things where I posted, it was like, is anybody seeing this? And then I remember one day where I posted three songs in succession by Tyrone Davis,
Uh-huh.
thinking that maybe nobody knows that one. And I think each one of them got over 100 reactions. That's
Wow.
the one time that I remember getting that many reactions from anything that I posted, pretty much
Yeah.
anywhere on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, okay. Wow. Wow. Um, excuse me. How do you on a daily basis, is music a regular part of your life, Brian?
I'll be honest, it's not as much as it used to be at home, but at work, I'm usually playing music. And it's funny because when my job first moved to the office where I am now, it's actually 10 blocks from home. I had coworkers who were really into the music. And my previous location, I don't know. I guess I just struck a nerve with them. It's like if I played something at normal volume where you think you'd be able to have a conversation. No, no, you got to turn that up.
Oh, wow.
They
Wow.
would call me DJ Bryan, but just to set up in the office where I am now, I can't play it like I used to.
Uh-huh.
But we had people who were really knowledgeable pretty much in the music. They had their favorites. Like one, she would get up and dance whenever she heard anybody playing Al Green.
Yeah. I
And
love it.
I had plenty of Al Green, but I couldn't play it enough. I couldn't play enough for her, but I didn't want her to get herself in trouble.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow. Oh my gosh, I love this. I love this.
Mhm,
Um, the the music that you listen to, um,
mhm.
is and this is a very interesting question because I don't think I've asked anyone this. Is it a reflection of who you are? Do we really choose music based on who we are? But is the music that you share, that you play, that you when you're alone, is it a reflection
Mhm.
of who you are, or is it a reflection of the way your day has been? How does that music interact with your psyche, so to speak?
Sometimes it's a reflection of who I am. Sometimes it's a reflection of what's going on at the time. A lot of it, I'll be honest, was nostalgia because I've noticed that there are some songs that I really like them, but for whatever reason, I can't play them because of what they bring to mind.
Oh,
Like
okay.
I've noticed, I mentioned Gladys Knight, but I've noticed the past few years because I had posted this actually when it happened, and my mom passed away about 3 years ago, and I noticed since then that I can't listen to as much Gladys Knight at one time as I used to because it brings to mind mom because she really used to like Gladys. That was one of her favorites. Went to see them in a concert many times.
Wow. Wow. But thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing
Hmm.
that. I know how that can be. Um, what about your family members? Are you the only child or
No, I have a younger brother, and he's also quite musical inclined. He's 4 years younger than me, so he latched onto hip hop, but he still loves to pretty much the same music as I do. I probably not as much into some of the other things, but definitely R&B and some jazz. He shocked my father one time some years ago. At the time I was still living with my parents, I'll admit that I moved out kind of late. He was married with kids and had a car with the fold down rear seat, and he
uh-huh.
had pickup speakers back there. And usually,
Yeah.
what was playing when he was by himself was hip hop. This one day, he comes to my dad's house to have him do some work on the car. But he was working on my car, and at the time, he just said, "Okay, well, while I'm waiting, I'll clean up my car."
Uh-huh.
And some music began coming from his car, and I recognized it right away as Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. I'll
Wow.
point out at the time I was 31 and he was 27.
Wow.
My dad, when he realized what he was hearing, he stepped aside from the car, put his tools aside, and walked up to my brother. He's like, "Who are you, and what have you done with my son?"
Oh,
He
wow.
said he was hearing these names, and one day he just decided to go to the library and start checking out music by these different people, and he came to appreciate, have a greater appreciation for jazz also.
That is wonderful. That is really wonderful. It is so amazing how music can do that to us. It is just,
Mm-hmm.
oh wow. I really love that. I love hearing stories like that, Brian. That really made
Mm-hmm.
my day. It did. Excuse me. Do you let me ask you this. What actually makes you stay with I.F.A.T.S? Is this something
Um,
that you think you will be with for a long time?
I intend to, yeah. Like I said, the variety of music, the fact that I mean, it seems to be more R&B than anything else,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a variety of music because there's some rock, there's some country, there's some of everything,
Oh
and
yeah.
people who seem to appreciate when they see other things, even if it's not necessarily what they would have chosen or what they would post.
Yeah, I've actually learned a lot about the music that I do not listen to. There have been so many times when I've like the Super Sunday where we had songs that we just didn't like. And and before that I think we had a feature with songs that had to grow on you. And
Hmm.
that has happened to me a lot. There's been a lot of songs. I'm just going to give you one, for instance, Don't Stop the Music by Yarborough and People. I could not stand that song, Brian. But it took it took some time, for me
Hmm.
to really, really not understand it. But I think what happened was I'm sitting by myself and I'm really listening to the music and I find myself moving a little bit. And that's how
Hmm.
it came about. But just hearing it from the beginning, I just couldn't take it. And
I
music is able
I
to,
always liked it, but I it seemed to go back and forth. Where there were sometimes that maybe I was hearing too much of it. I like the follow up. Don't waste your time. I like that one. It wasn't
uh-huh,
as big a hit, but I like
uh-huh.
that one more because it
Oh,
seems to be
really?
more to it. Uh-huh.
Oh, wow.
And I noticed around the time that those came out, there were musical rivalries between certain people. I guess it was more the producers than the artists
Mm-hmm.
because there were a lot of similarities between the people behind Yarborough and Peoples and Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Okay, yes,
Like
yes.
Alexander O'Neal came out with Innocent, and then Yarborough and Peoples, using almost the same beat, came out with Guilty.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Uh,
That is true. That is very
mm-hmm,
true. And see, and that's what makes it even better when you talk to people like that. You recognize that. And there may be a lot of
mm-hmm,
people that can't recognize that because they're just simply, listening to the music, but not really listening to the music.
uh-huh.
Is that something
I
that you
noticed a
always
lot of
have done? Just not just really examine the music?
To a certain degree, yeah. I mean, probably more so in later years than when I was younger, but around the time that I mentioned my father's friend who introduced me and my dad to Grover Washington, I began reading labels to looking at the credits.
Yes, yeah.
And I would notice certain people's names on records I bought. And based on that, when I saw a record by them, I would go out and buy it. There have been some that I really liked, like I really had liked Patrice Rushen, and I noticed Gerald Albright's name on all her albums. So when his first album came out, I hadn't even heard anything on it. I went and bought it, and I really liked it. About 6 months later, people were playing "So Amazing" on the radio, and
Uh-huh.
friends of mine was like, "You got to go and get this album by this guy, Gerald Albright. He has a great version of Luther Vandross' song "So Amazing." I said,
Hmm.
oh, "Please, I bought that 6 months ago."
Wow. 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 Uh, uh, so, um, what's her name? Patrice Rushen. So her albums, he was uh instrumental on on her album.
He played a lot of he played saxophone on a lot of her albums around the time that she began focusing on R&B.
Oh,
So
okay.
when his first album came out, like I said, I just had an idea. I didn't necessarily know that it was going to be that same type of music because I know he played saxophone, he didn't sing. But just based on what I heard, I went and bought it, and I liked it.
Wow. Yeah, I like Gerald Albright myself. I recently got into him within the last, I'm going to say 3 years.
Hmm.
Yeah, but my brother is a serious jazz fanatic, but contemporary jazz, not the traditional jazz. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Um, there was another question I wanted to pose to you. Do you do you enjoy the fact that, and I probably know the answer to this. Do you enjoy the fact that you can actually um, go back in time? Is it because it's special, or was that music just something that cannot be duplicated any longer?
I'd say it's a combination of both. I mean, there's been some things that I listened to and or that I remember, and I looked them up, and I realized it probably had more to do with memories of maybe something that was going on at the time rather than the music itself. Like there was this song I remember finding online, and this was back in the day when, at the time when YouTube, the comments, they were, the comment section would, it were like so many comments per page, so there would be pages rather than just endless scroll. And there were like 20 pages of comments for this one song, and it was an album track. It was never even a single. Called the name of the song was "Feeling," and I told other people about it, and they were like, "Yeah, don't really sound like that much to me." And I realized when I went back and listened to it, I was like, "Okay, I think it probably has something to do with the age that I was at the time, and it's a nostalgia rather than the actual song." But
Okay.
like you said, it's a combination of things.
Oh, okay. Do you like artists that are not well known as many of the other artists?
I do,
In other words,
because it's really
obscure
with me more
artists?
about the music than necessarily that they're famous or, that they are attractive or anything like that. Because a lot of times today, that's what it goes by. But I just like the music. Like there was this one artist, I saw a video on a TV show that was on many years ago. I don't know if you remember Video Soul.
Uh-huh.
This singer, Adriana Evans, the name of the song was "Seeing Is Believing." And
Yes.
I really liked it. And I went and bought the album. I've never heard any other song of hers I never heard any song of hers on the radio. I never saw any videos for anything else, but that was a great album. And I found out that she was one of those people that it seems like singers knew about her, but not much of the public did. And she's been steadily making music since that album came out, and I believe it was 96 or 97.
Uh-huh.
And she just never really caught on, but she has a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I know we miss out on a lot of great artists that way, or great music, I should say, but them
Mhm.
not maybe fitting a certain style, or because really that's what it's all about. They want you to look a certain way and talk a certain way, dress. It's So if you don't fit that, you won't get the airplay that you would think most other artists do get. It just doesn't happen.
Hmm. Yep. I remember seeing someone saying something like that in the comments for this song. I was surprised. It was a live performance at some concert venue in Massachusetts. Kenny Loggins and Shanice Wilson
Uh-huh.
doing this his song "Love Will Follow," and it was a great performance, and they really were compatible. And people were like, they wonder what made him decide to perform with her. But other people are saying, based on this performance, even if they hadn't heard anything by her, she should have been a bigger name. But
Yeah.
like you said, the industry wants people to perform a certain way, to look a certain way, to be half dressed half the time. And she wasn't about that. She wanted it to be about her singing. And so she didn't go as far as some other people did.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Excuse me. Bryan, I have to say, this has been a very, very interesting conversation with you, because you've actually educated me on certain things about the music, and I like that. And like I said before, and I can't repeat it enough, is the fact that when you do share a song, especially a song that I don't know, and you've done that quite often, you share songs that I don't know, but yet you've had
Mhm.
some information behind it. And there's been quite a few times that I've gone and looked at that song and looked at the credits if I can, because sometimes, especially if it's an obscure artist, you can't find that much information, but I definitely go and look. So I am influenced by a lot of the things that you share. Like I said, you don't know that, but I definitely do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I
You're
have a story for you that
say that
I,
again.
so I have a story for you. I think you'll appreciate this.
Okay.
Um, a playlist that I have, I made a long time ago, back when rappers first began commonly sampling.
Uh-huh.
And I happened to notice one day, and I was thinking about these different songs. This was something I think my brother was playing, and I was like, I could probably make a good tape off of some of this stuff if I made a list. And I called it the good stuff.
Okay.
And eventually I lost a lot of those tapes, but I remembered what was on them, and I wound up remaking them as playlists online. So one day I was playing the good stuff playlist at work, and I had a coworker. She our music taste kind of overlapped quite a bit. She was surprised by this one Trinidadian group that I played that really didn't get any notice here. And she's like, "How do you know about this old music?" And I wonder sometimes with her thing, her knowing about some of the R&B from that same time. I was playing "Thin Line Between Love and Hate" by the
Uh-huh.
Persuaders, and she was singing along. And she stopped at one point. I stopped the music rather at one point. She said she opened up the door, and I stopped the tape. And I says, "Anne Marie, I appreciate that you like my music." I said, "If you're going to sing along, you have to sing it right." She didn't open up the door. She opened up the dough.
I love it. Oh my God. That was great. Thank you for sharing that. Oh my gosh,
Uh-huh.
Bryan. Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to wrap this up. And again, I want to thank you so much for spending some time with me and with our viewers. Uh, and I am going to ask you that inevitable question that we've asked all of our members.
Mhm.
If you were given the opportunity to listen to only one song and one song only, what song would that be, Bryan?
Mm, I don't know if I could pick one, to be honest with you.
You can't
Um,
pick one?
I
It's
can't really pick
difficult.
one.
It's difficult.
Uh-huh.
It's difficult. Is there a song? Yeah, I'm not gonna encourage you. If you can't pick one, you just can't pick one. Yeah,
I really can't pick one because my musical taste is like it's all over the place, really.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's just the power of music. But again, I want to thank you so much, Bryan, for giving us a wonderful moment. You were very, very pleasant to interview, and I enjoyed it 100%. And I hope we get an opportunity to do this again. Who knows?
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the chance to be interviewed. It's not something that people ask me to do often. I think I've been interviewed twice before this.
Yeah, and that's what makes this special, I think, because we're not interviewing famous people or celebrities or anything like that. We want to know, get to the heart of the matter, and I think that is with everyday people who are also special people. So thank you once again, Brian. It's such an appreciation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take one.